Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. The phrase, "you couldn't make it up," is a response to a story that you may have heard that sounds so ridiculous that it's quite probably true. Now, let's just take that apart for a minute, okay? To make something up is when you're not telling the truth. Okay, so if your child comes from school and says, for example, the school was on fire today, so I don't have to go to school tomorrow, you can say, "What? You're making that up. That's not true." So that's a normal response. Okay. And whenever you're questioning whether something that someone is telling you is right, it's normal to say, "Oh, you're making that up. I don't believe you." So to make something up is when you fabricate something in your mind, usually to try to fool someone. "Oh, you're making that up. Don't tell me." So we use that a lot. So the phrase "you couldn't make it up" is used when you hear a story that's so ridiculous that someone couldn't possibly have invented it. It's so bizarre. Okay. So the phrase "you couldn't make it up" is often used to express disbelief or amazement at a situation that's so unusual or unlikely that it seems as if it could not have been invented or fabricated. Now, right now, because of our changing political system, we hear that a lot. For example, our government spend millions on things which look a little bit odd. For example, I remember once our politicians were spending a lot of money discussing bananas. Are they carved enough? Are they straight enough? Bananas. And they spent millions on this. And when we used to talk amongst ourselves about this story, the response would be the person would shake their head and say, "Oh, you couldn't make it up, could you? Only in Britain would we spend millions talking about bananas." So that's a good example. You couldn't make it up. Now, we don't say he couldn't make it up or he couldn't have made that up because if you do that, you're really questioning whether someone who said that he had done something is actually true. But in the case of a story, like a political story or a news story, that doesn't apply. Let me explain that just one more time because I think it's a bit complex. So if John comes to work, okay, and he tells you that he's getting divorced, you might say to your colleague, "Did he just make that up or not?" And we all look around and we think, I don't know if he's telling the truth or if he's trying to be funny. So in that case, did he just make that up? Or, well, he couldn't have made that up because I saw him with his wife yesterday. That's a different thing because you're questioning whether he's telling you the truth. But the phrase, "you couldn't make it up," is an automatic response to a story which sounds unbelievable. And it's usually not about something personal, like John in the office getting divorced. It's usually something on a much wider or grander kind of scale, okay? Like what politicians are doing. Now, this morning I was talking to a friend of mine, and we used this phrase, "you couldn't make it up." And I'm going to explain to you what we were talking about and how this phrase came about, because that's why we're talking about it in this podcast, because I used this phrase this morning. So basically, there's a headline in our paper today that someone who was eating a pizza saw Margaret Thatcher's face in the pizza box, in the grease in the bottom of the box. Okay, now you know sometimes in the Christian world, some people claim to see the head of the Virgin Mary on a bit of toast, or on the fridge door, or in the window, and it causes a lot of excitement. Well, here, on the bottom of the pizza box, on the cardboard, there was a face of Margaret Thatcher. Now, I have to say, I've seen the picture, and it does look a lot like her. It's very amusing. So they've called this picture Margarita Thatcher, of course, because Margarita is Margaret in another language, and also because it's a flavor of pizza, margarita. So it says here, pizza fan sees Margarita Thatcher's face in pizza box as the grease resembles the Iron Lady. That's what we used to call Margaret Thatcher. And my friend said, you really couldn't make it up, could you? It means it's such a ridiculous thing. And it is ridiculous, but she's here on this pizza box. And the story says, a pizza fan, a bit of a strange thing to call the person. I mean, maybe he was only having one pizza. I don't know. He doesn't have to be a fan. But anyway, the man was eating pizza, and he was shocked to see the face of the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, formed out of the grease stain in the bottom of the pizza box. Now, it is very convincing. It goes on to say that the pizza lover got a shock when he spotted the face of former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher in his pizza box. It says he'd just finished his takeaway when he noticed the Iron Lady's face outline on the lid, and he quickly snapped photos of the unusual sight. He said, and this is what he told the newspaper, "I just finished my pizza and I noticed Thatcher's face in the box. The greasy imprint looked like two eyes, a nose, and a mouth, framed by her puffy hairstyle." Yeah, you know, she had that big hair, a bit like Ursula von der Leyen, something similar. And he said it was beginning to take shape. He saw the Iron Lady. Margaret Thatcher was our Prime Minister from 1979 to 1990, and is remembered for her policies. This isn't the first time a famous face has appeared in an unexpected place. Of course, in America, where you would expect these things to happen somehow, Jesus was seen on a piece of toast. And also, I think someone else claimed that in their roast potato dinner, the face of Jim Morrison from The Doors appeared. And back in the UK, one woman saw Margaret Thatcher's face in a barn mark on her ironing board. That's the board we use for ironing clothes. You know that thing that you bring out when you're ironing the shirts? It's like a shelf. It's got a leg on it. And they're terrible things to try to assemble those. They fold up. You put them away, then once a week you bring them out to do your ironing, the ironing board. And other people thought that one looked like our Queen Elizabeth. And then Boris Johnson, a picture of him appeared in a curry here in the UK, with yellow rice creating his blonde hair. And all across the world, of course, many religious people claim to see the head of the Virgin Mary in different objects, which is something of faith. I can kind of understand that. But anyway, Margarita Thatcher, as she's being called here, appeared in this pizza box. It's very, very interesting. So my friend said, "Oh, you couldn't make it up, could you? Only in Britain would somebody claim to see the face of Margaret Thatcher." But it is actually quite convincing. I mean, I have to say, I'm looking at it now. Um, yeah, it's obviously just one of these illusions, but it has her hair, the head, and the shoulder pads. Um, yeah, but I must admit, if I saw that for the first time, I would say it looks like a woman or possibly even a pet dog. Uh, but if you had Margaret Thatcher in your mind, you could easily see. I mean, it does look like her, but what the hair is could easily look like two big floppy ears of a dog as well, I think. But yeah, it's very amusing anyway. And then, of course, for the full effect, they've shown us the mayonnaise and crumbs, so it didn't stop him eating the pizza, that's for sure. So very interesting. Yeah, that's in our newspaper today. So I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it online somewhere. It's a bit ridiculous, but yeah. So you really couldn't make that up. I mean, only in the UK would somebody claim to see the face of Margaret Thatcher in a pizza box. Across Latin America, to see the face of the Virgin Mary is not common, but it's not unusual. And for those people who are practicing religion, they take these things very, very seriously. But I have to say, I don't think anybody here will be rushing away to get this framed or to have her made into a saint. I don't think that's going to happen. So there we are. Well, that's today's phrase. You couldn't make it up. And remember, if you want to say it in that way, you have to say it exactly as I did. You really couldn't make it up, could you? Okay, that's the way to say it. Or you could say, only in Britain. Or if it's about politics, you could say, only in politics would that happen. There we are. So I hope you found that helpful. Let's talk again soon. And I wish you all a wonderful day. I'm just watching people falling on the ice outside. It's like a Dickensian novel out there. It really is. It's white with frost. The rain has just come on, so I really hope that it washes away some of the ice because it's deadly out there. I'm glad that I don't have to go out, and it's very, very dark, which is also a little bit strange because it's 10:20 in the morning, and it's looking like sunset time. Really, it's a bit crazy. Anyway, that's it from me, so I'll catch you all soon. See you. Bye.